Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Next to Madison. On today's episode, I am sitting down with an amazing, inspiring woman. She is the CEO and president of a very successful and large architectural firm that's doing a lot of projects in New York called McKissack McKissack. And she is here to tell us about the history of this company because it is unbelievable. I started looking at it going, oh my God, my mind was blown. It's such an inspirational story. She's got a great foundation. And also she's going to talk about the infrastructure bill because what the hell is in this thing? So I want to know, and I'm sure you guys want to know too, and what the hell's going on with the corporate tax rate. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and bring on my guest today, Cheryl McKissack Daniels. How are you?
Hi, Madison. How are you?
I am
next
good.
to Madison. I can't wait.
I wish you were actually physically next to me. We used to be in the studio and people would come in and the whole name make complete sense. Now I need to change it to zoomed with Madison.
Well, you know what? I'll come back.
Hey, I like that. Exactly. Yeah. When the thing opens up and we're back in the studio, it's so much more fun.
That's right. But I love Colorado.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can come here, go back there. We'll kind of figure that out. So I want to get into this about the history of this company that you run because it's unbelievable. It's a fifth generation.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Our company does date back 5 generations to the first descendant of our family, Moses McKissack I, who came here as a slave from Ghana. And he was a slave to a contractor named William McKissack. Thus, I bear the Scottish name, but I do not look Scottish.
Right.
I have a lot of the traits. So anyway, he taught my great-great-grandfather, Moses McKissack I, the trade of making bricks. And we believe at some point he did receive his freedom and put his shingle out, and brick making was his trade. And we know that he gave 365,000 bricks to the Cheers family in Nashville, which was a prominent family right outside of Nashville, Tennessee. And they built their mansion, and the mansion is still standing. Saturn Corporation bought this property probably 20 years ago, and they built a plant to manufacture their cars, but they kept the mansion in place. And the mansion bears the McKissack name. And so that right there indicates that he was probably a free man. He then had several sons, but one, of course, Moses McKissack II.
Yeah.
And he was known for his spiral staircases and gingerbread finishes in Tennessee. But most notably, he was part of building the Maxwell House Hotel, where 7 presidents stayed in downtown Nashville. So if you think of a Black man way back in the 1800s doing that, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's such a wow.
So, and just think about this. This is Ku Klux Klan territory. The Ku Klux Klan started in Pulaski, Tennessee.
Oh my gosh.
So Moses McKissack II had first 7 girls and then 7 boys because he had to have that son, right?
Yeah.
My grandfather was the first son, and he is Moses III. But because they wanted a girl all the times, a boy all the times, he had a girl. He has 7 names, and that's John Henry Louis Edward Louis McKissack, Moses McKissack.
Wow. Yeah.
I used to know it well, but it's at the end of a long Zoom day.
Yeah, right. I hear you.
Anyway, he was a master builder, and he incorporated McKissack in 1905. And that was before there were architectural licensing laws. The licensing laws did not go into effect in the state of Tennessee till 1920. So that meant my grandfather, Moses McKissack III, and his brother, who was his partner, for them to stay in business, they had to get their architectural license. So can you imagine two Black men walking up to the courthouse in Nashville, Tennessee, saying they would like to take, the architectural exam? Well, of course they were denied. And they were denied over and over and over again until they lobbied the licensing board. And one of the board members said, listen, these men aren't going to pass.
How mean.
Yes. So let's let them take this exam. Who cares? And of course they take the exam and pass.
Amen.
But the same board member went to bat for them to actually get their license, and they have license 117 and 118 in the state of Tennessee. Wow. And those two licenses hang in my office in Manhattan.
How cool.
And because they were the first Black licensed architects in the country, the state of Tennessee gained a lot of notoriety. And now the board is saying, oh yes, we were the first to do this. And, they came to their defense to get licensed in 22 other states. So, that right there is an interesting part of the story, because, this is America. And in America, you can overcome just about anything. You work hard, establish relationships, right? Because in 3 generations, my ancestors overcame slavery. And so my grandfather then passed the company down to my father, who was also an architect. And he geared us more towards architecture, and while keeping the general contracting in place. Then when he became ill, my mother took over the business. She's been a housewife for 17 years.
Yeah, that's quite the change, right? She probably liked getting out of the house, though.
She liked getting out the house. She laughed. She said she only knew the telephone number to my father's office, but that she had a master's in psychology, which helped her deal with the phobias and manias with men who couldn't understand that a woman could run a business.
I mean, I know. It's just like, it's so crazy. I couldn't even imagine. And that was what? Was that the 80s? That
was the 80s. Now think about the 80s. This was 1983. This was before the Women's Business Act. So women could not borrow money, but their sons could. Only men could borrow money. That was like yesterday. And so, she had a really tough road, but eventually, things opened up for her when they figured out she wasn't going to go anywhere.
Yeah, that's for her.
That she wasn't going to sell her business to a man. In fact, she was going to keep her business and pass it down to her daughters.
Yeah,
so
for her.
She is my mentor. She's just a strong lady that would not take no for an answer. Very sharp.
Sounds like it's really in your family, in the blood.
Yes.
Everybody overcame such a like so many challenges, and they never gave up. It's it's in the blood, girl.
It's in the blood, and when I think about the challenges I've had over the last 30 years, that's what I hold on to, that it's in the blood. Mm-hmm. I learned how to throw a little side eyes like my mother.
Yeah.
We're not dealing with that today.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta be tough, especially, more things have opened up for women today. Yeah. It's amazing. And more women are breadwinners, and it's such a great thing, but there's still things that we have to deal with. And it's will they ever go away? Mm-hmm.
Well, they go away when decision makers begin to look like us. When board rooms begin to look like us. When, Congress and the White House looks like us. Okay, that's things begin to change. and so, that's what we have to work towards. We do a lot of that here in New York. I'm sure you've heard of the Women's Forum.
Yeah.
Okay. So in New York, we do a third of our work is towards getting women on corporate boards, because that's where you change policy. You can really change culture. And so I think as we make those kind of strides, things will get better. But yes, we still have to contend with a lot of things all the time. Female, being what we call now BIPOC, Black and Indigenous people of color. Yeah, in the city of New York, I would say Black women probably have 2% of the business.
That's it?
That's it. If that.
What's the percentage of women that have business?
Women, that's hard to say. So I would say the MWBE program altogether is hovering around 30%. So maybe it's 28%.
Okay.
And white women are probably 53 to 60% of that. So you're saying, 15%. So it's still not, because we're over 50% of the population women. So we're still not getting our fair share.
In New York City, women are the majority.
Exactly. So we're not getting our fair share.
That's why men go there, because they're like, oh, this date doesn't work out. There's plenty of other options around the corner.
Well, that's true. But as you know, New York numbers are huge. So to build something in New York, a school to build here is $500 a square foot. I'm sure if you build a school in Colorado, equivalent is probably 150 to 200 a square foot. So
yeah, definitely different.
So the fee structure is a little better here. So, having a piece of the apple.
Yeah, right. That's all you need. You can be pretty well with a piece of the apple, right?
A piece of the apple.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, yeah. So that's why I always wanted to be in New York. My parents brought me here when I was 5 years old. And I remember looking up in the tall buildings, thinking to myself, wow, I just love this place. One day I want to work in one of those tall buildings. So I feel like I'm really living my dream now. After 30 years of establishing and growing a business in this terrific town, that's going through its own challenges right now. But, hopefully New York will rebound to what it was before. We do have a whole lot of construction and infrastructure work that's coming that's going on right now. And so I feel extremely blessed to be a part of New York City.
Because your firm's working on some phenomenal projects. I mean, you guys
are
at the airport.
Yes, we are program managers for JFK Terminal 1, which is probably one of the largest projects in the Western Hemisphere. It's $6.5 billion for one terminal. Our client is Carlyle, Magic Johnson Enterprises, and Loop Capital. So a lot of people don't know that Magic Johnson is involved with that project, as well as a Black investment firm out of Chicago, New York, called Loop Capital, run by Jim Reynolds. And so those are the type of things that Governor Cuomo has put in place. Everything that he does is around diversity. And the same with our Mayor de Blasio.
Okay.
And it's so important in New York because we're such a diverse town.
Yeah, well, that's why people love New York. It's just all the cultures and diversity, which makes it just a magical place. So
we also oversee the MTA capital program. And so we provide, I call it operational audits and reporting to the board on any project that's over $100 million. And so their capital program right now is $54 billion.
For the MTA?
For the MTA, yes.
4 billion?
54 billion.
Who's paying for this shit? The tax.
Who's paying for it?
Oh my God. No wonder the taxes are so high.
Well, you know, our taxes in New York are in the 40% bracket.
Yeah.
You know, so by the time we pay federal, New York State, New York City, a commuter tax,
I know.
we're over 40.
Yeah. It's like, excuse me, governors, can you rein in the pocketbook? Because we got to eat. We got to eat and like house ourselves.
Yes, I mean, Madison, that's the question, how to get it all done, because, you know, we don't operate without a train. If our trains break down or, you know, one of the tunnels crumble, New York is stifled. We have a serious problem with our tunnel between New York and New Jersey. It's 100+ years old. If it crumbles, and it has started crumbling,
Yeah.
you know, it shuts New York off from New Jersey. And that's the financial impact of that. You're talking about not eating.
That's true. Yes. This is, I know.
So these are big questions, Madison. They're big questions and complicated answers because you have competing interests that have to work together.
Yes.
I think that's the best way to put it. You know, even if you're in a rural town and you need to cross a bridge to get to work, and that bridge is 100 years old, would you know, it's not safe anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, all of these things, you know, as Americans, you know, we need to take care of them. But like you said, how are we paying for them? You know, we just did a big bailout, you know, with the PPP loans, you know, so how do we pay for all the things that we need? You know, we're kind of like, you know, people living right below the poverty line that have to choose between medicine and food. But it's as a nation. So
that I'm like, if I could get my ass in there, I feel like, I mean, everyone says this. You're like, I could turn this around. I mean, first of all, the amount of money that's just wasted. They book plane tickets and then they don't cancel them or get them refunded. They just don't go or they don't show up. Well, that's easy when it's not your money to not take a flight. But, you know, it's just, there's so much wasteful spending.
There's waste,
and
you know, there's waste.
Oh.
Turning over all the offices every time we get a new elected official. I mean,
let's just keep it the same.
Yeah,
like, put up your own picture.
Make it. Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Trim the fat, and you know, let's really deal with what's important, and you know, make priorities. But I agree with you, totally, 100%.
Because it's like, if you look at that balance sheet, you would probably be like, excuse me? This is insane. Like, I'm sorry, but nobody needs all these clothes. Nobody needs custom restoration hardware, whatever the hell they're buying. And then, you don't need that. What you need is food. You need food and your shelter and your water.
Yes.
Like, give you some filtered water, but like, do your job.
I would not approve their expenses. That's for sure.
No, it's easy to spend it when it's not directly yours. You know what I mean? And so, and that's
Exactly.
the thing. Like, we're living in this insane bubble. What I love about it is so many people that that maybe struggled and kind of got by for a long time have become, people I know have become millionaires because they got smart, they got savvy, and they learned the market. Well, I mean, you didn't have to, basically you could be a child, just hit buy in this market and win. And I love that. I love that part of it, that it created like new wealth and kind of spread it out. But it obviously hurt a ton of people. And they're keeping these rates low, and this printing this money like crazy to pay for God knows what now. And they don't have, so you have this bubble, and the inequality gap is bigger than it's ever been before. And everyone knows it. All my finance friends will say it. You want to close the inequality gap, you raise the rate. It's very simple. They're not doing it for a reason. I don't know.
I find it interesting what you said. I agree with you. I like the fact that there are more millionaires.
Yeah.
But what I'm concerned about is the billionaire list grew by 30%. Like, what's enough money? Okay.
You can't even spend $1 billion. You cannot. It just I know. And that's the thing too. It's like raise the rates, and it will stop this bubble. Like, granted, I like that my portfolio is going up and going up and going up. But the problem is we're at such an all-time high that the poor people can't participate and take advantage of these low rates and the printing of the money in this bubble. So that's what's causing this huge inequality gap. But there's nothing that people can really do. But if they just...
So you're saying it's the interest rates?
Something with it, with the interest rates, because the interest rates are so low, and then the printing of the money, there's so much money coming into the system that it's causing the market, because 40% of our money was printed just this past year or something in circulation. And so it's causing this huge bubble for the market that's been going up. And that's pretty much what's causing it.
Wow. We need some accountability. We need the government to let us know every company that received the PPP money. I mean, I just feel like we don't have any accountability.
No. And they passed it, and it helped a lot of companies that needed it. That was great.
Which is fine.
JP Morgan doesn't need a PPP.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Or any of these banks or Amazon, they don't need it. So it's you could use that money to help so many other people. So so let's go into the infrastructure bill, because you had talked about these big projects, which is the newest thing now being talked about. So it's $2 trillion, and it's what exactly is it going to do?
Well, it's going to deal with infrastructure throughout the country, not just the Northeast corridor. So it's going to address the fact that, 85% of our bridges, are going into the unsafe zone. And that's across the country.
Is it just for roads and bridges and commuter type things? Or I just feel like they
No, it's renewable energy. It's about the technology.
In there that is that's the thing, is they sneak all this stuff in there. And then
so it's about how to transition off of fossil fuels. It's also clean water, which is a problem in underserved neighborhoods. There's just not. Can you imagine in America not having clean water?
It's like Flint, Michigan, that whole tragedy down there.
Well, it's not only in Flint; it's in other locations, and so it's going to deal with clean water. And it's supposed to deal with inequity. And to me, that's the most, important piece, like we just discussed, just what's happening to the middle class. We really need a strong middle class, and we don't have it. Everybody's slipping into the below poverty line. And so we need to do something around that. And also, which I think is good, is we need to have equity among all corporations and companies when it comes to paying taxes. Is it fair that, $1 billion company pays nothing and a $50 million company pays $2 or $3 million? Is that fair? I don't think so.
So how does the $1 billion company get away with not paying anything? Don't they have to pay the corporate tax rate, which I believe is 21% at the moment?
They have loopholes that they, and that is what they are trying to fix. They have offshore companies, okay?
Yeah.
And they don't declare everything that happens outside of the United States. And so those are the things that, you know, a mom and pop restaurant can't do. And so they get stuck paying the 20% or 21%, where the huge, large conglomerate gets away with paying nothing. You know, and as we said earlier, it's printed everywhere. 81, that's almost half, of Fortune 200 companies pay no taxes. And that to me is a problem.
I agree. I would say make all the companies that have profits of over $1 billion pay it.
And then we have tax credits, you know, to
Let
be
them
able to take advantage of those.
Well, yeah, but
It's not the small company.
I wonder if you did the really, really large companies that could clearly afford it. I don't know exactly the math on that, like how much it would affect the stockholders, but they pay it, and then let these smaller businesses off the hook without paying it, and they could hire more people and grow their business.
Well, exactly. They pay their stockholders. That's why they're more billionaires. And they pay their top executives. I mean, if you look at Fortune 200 companies, the executives are starting at 15 million and up for their salary.
Wow, I need to go work at one of those places.
Just think about that.
Executive. Yeah, crazy. I know it's absolutely insane, but yeah, it's but how does it work with you, because you guys are in the construction field, to where you and you can cut me off if I'm entering in a dark territory.
Okay.
Like with Cuomo and de Blasio, you mentioned you like them. I don't hear that from any other New Yorkers, but I'm wondering, because I know people in construction or building things, and they need to have a very good relationship in order to get those things done.
Well, the thing is, what we need is pro-building politicians. So politicians that want to invest in infrastructure, like Como. He wanted to make sure that LaGuardia was up to standards for New York City. The same with JFK.
Yeah.
You know, our train system. You know, how one of the worst things is trying to get from Manhattan to LaGuardia or to Kennedy.
Oh,
so he's getting ready to build a train. It's awful.
So you pretty much have to take a cab. That's it.
Yeah, you could take a cab, but he's talking about building a train, which is a model that a lot of cities do, because that's how you get easy access to downtown. And for us, you know, that we get a lot of tourists here, and we need to get them downtown as fast as we can, and not frustrated. I mean, you know, better than I do, going from LaGuardia to downtown Manhattan, you know, you think you're going through third world countries.
It's true.
And you can get stuck in the tunnel. You can get stuck in a traffic jam. It's an unknown factor.
Yeah.
So it's a 30-minute ride, 20-minute ride without traffic. So, you know, he's trying to cut down on that uncertainty by putting a train in to go from downtown Manhattan to LaGuardia. You know, you can get to Newark, but there has to be some connection. So what these mayors do is, you know, they create these infrastructure programs, which put a lot of people back to work, and, you know, they improve the bones of the city. Like, the city can't operate. You know, they deal with the crime in the city. We need more of that now. I mean, I don't know what's going on. It seems like it's difficult to be a policeman in any city right now. And so we don't have as many police, I don't think, as we need. When I talk to my employees about coming back to work, The one thing they say is, we're not afraid of COVID, but we're afraid of crime. We're having, the slashings and the Asian, and, Asian workers will say, they're concerned.
I know.
We're having all these hate crimes that are taking place.
It is, I know. Because I remember New York when I was living there. I mean, I just recently kind of left, but it was the only city that I felt safe walking around at night by myself. I never carried mace or anything like that, or pepper spray. No. And then when I left during like the height of the pandemic, and then came back for like a couple months before I said, this isn't worth it right now, I'm putting my stuff in storage, I was at Cabela's buying pepper spray. And the guy helping me goes, oh, are you going hiking? Like, are you in an area where there's going to be mountain lions? I'm like, no, I'm going to New York City. He goes, yeah, you might want to. And I was like, this is insane. So I remember I unpacked my hot pink pepper spray and I put it in my bag. I had 2 months left in New York. And I thought, I'm going to use this. Before I leave New York, I'm using this. And it was like, it wasn't just for me that I carried it. If I saw somebody being attacked, I felt confident because I was like, whew, I could come in and
oh,
say,
no.
Hey. You know what I mean? I could be like, not today, mofo, and just spray it in the face, Stands for motherfucker.
Yeah, I got it.
I was ready to like be somebody's hero. Like I was walking around with this pepper spray, like, I got this. If somebody messes with me, I'm ready to light them up. And what happened? I came back with 2 full canisters of pepper spray. So I never got it.
Yeah, I agree with you. New York used to be lovely to walk around, and now you do feel like you need a little pepper spray because we have a mental illness problem. Okay.
Yeah.
They closed a lot of the behavior health facilities, so we have people on the street that really need 24-hour care, if you ask me, when it comes to mental health. But they're just walking around on the street, and it's a little unnerving. We've gone through this whole thing of closing Rikers Island. And so we're in the process of, letting people out of jail. I mean, and there are 2 sides to that story. But we don't have enough police. I think we need more police. We need more in the subway, and we need more on the streets. We used to have them on every corner. I mean, you saw police all the time. And now you don't see them.
That is true.
And that's very concerning to me. And, I'm wondering what's happening. The police, we need the police, and a few bad apples, right, have created this perception and dynamic in America that has made us question the entire blue. And now people aren't proud to be a police person.
Or a lot of people are retiring because they're just like, I don't know what's going to happen. We put our lives in danger, but yet, one wrong move. And that's the thing is you can't judge a whole group by, the bad ones, because there's
you have to take care of the bad ones. Right.
Exactly. Trust me, there's a lot of bad people down on Wall Street. But some people don't hate them all, Bring it in there, Switzerland loopholes.
Yeah. And here we're going to go through a whole new mayor's race, right? Well, we're in the heat of it, actually.
Who's running exactly? I have a friend, very nice guy. He's a friend of Lynette and I, Peter. He's one of the owners of Biche Cucina.
Oh, yeah.
Guimarães.
Nice. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so he's running. He's more, he's a thinker. Like he's an independent. He hears and sees both sides. But you can't necessarily run as an independent. So I think he said I think he's running as a Republican because just for a change.
Right. Well, that's not happening in New York, right?
Well, that's what I said to him too, and I go, you'd probably be better off. Like you can still have your same, what you want to do, because it all sounds great and good for everybody. But maybe if you just run as a Democrat, like you'll just get more votes.
Mm-hmm.
I think he thought he couldn't get in because there were so many different Democratic candidates that were like ranked high or something. And so the way to get in was like through the other party. But I don't know.
Wow.
But it is.
Well, we have 22 people running.
Not insane.
It's insane. And then we have what's called the rank voting. So when you vote your number one person, your number two person, and your number three person. I mean, it is so confusing that a lot of the influencers are just trying to educate the public on how to vote in New York City, because it's just crazy.
Influencers like somebody, in a thong string bikini showing her butt on Instagram with millions of followers. Are we talking that type of influencer? Because I don't want to listen to that type of influencer. Who are these influencers?
They're the people the wealthy people in New York.
Oh, you mean the elites? I don't call them influencers at all. They're not influencing me to do anything. They're the elites.
The elites. Because we have Andrew Yang, who of course is number one.
Yeah. Okay.
Just through name recognition, very smart, and we'll see how that pans out. But I mean, he's got a nice lead, and he's maintained it ever since the day he got into the race. He's number two is a guy named Eric Adams, and he's the Brooklyn borough president right now. He's had a political career, 20 years. He was a policeman who decided he didn't like how things were running in New York. So he went through the ranks, city council, all the way up to where he is today. And he knows the city inside out.
Oh, I got to look him up. He sounds good. I like the ex-police officer part.
The ex-police officer? Me too.
Yes. He understands, and he's been in that thing. So I think it would be good to have that. I like that. Yeah,
I like that too. We have several females running. Maya Wiley is one. She is a pundit on, I think it's MSNBC. You'll see her there quite often. She was de Blasio's counsel for the last 8 years. So she's another interesting candidate, but very, very progressive, which is popping up in New York, like the AOCs and all of that. To me, she's still a good candidate.
Okay.
But she's been labeled progressive. You don't know until they start working through policy whether they really are or not. But we do have several in the race, and
I have a new law that I would love to pass.
What is your law?
If I was to interview for your firm, and I came in and I told you what I would do, what I could do for your firm, and what I was going to do, you agreed. You said, that's great. You hire me, you're paying me a salary, and I show up and don't do any of the shit I said. Change everything. I start lying to you. You would fire me. That's how it works. Why can't it work with politicians? They lie to get elected. They say they're going to do all these things, but yet we don't hold them accountable to say, but I voted for you because you said you were going to do this.
I agree.
You didn't do it. So I don't like the rules for thee, but not for me type thing that we're operating on. So that would be my new law. If you don't do if you pitch something and then you get elected and don't do that, then we can fire you.
I think that most Americans would agree with you 100%. But we're at, you know what? They're so ahead of us because all politicians think about is getting elected.
True. And
we're trying to live every day. And,
I know.
We're not thinking about how to fire them. and you're on to something. You really are.
Maybe I should just run. I mean, I'm a comedian, so I've got enough dick jokes out there to sink me. But as a politician, but maybe people will be like, you know what? I like the fact that she talked about inappropriate things. It's funny. She's a comedian. Maybe I could. I don't know. I don't know if any comedian could run for a president.
Well, Eddie Murphy did some kind of movie on that, and it was hilarious.
Yeah.
And he just ran for the heck of it, and he won. But I think you'd be terrific.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I will consider it, because it's like I would just cut through all the crap. And I was like, listen, we're all here in this country, right? These are things that we all need, we all want. That's fine. But let's educate people and inspire them to do something, to educate them to make their own money, because there's nothing worse. It's great when somebody gives you something, gives you money. It feels good in that second. And then it goes, when you earn that money,
you are so right.
That skill to earn more.
Yes.
What's that saying that I love, right? If you teach a man to fish, you'll feed him for life.
Yeah.
And that's exactly where it goes. The first thing I would do as president is I would make financial education mandatory starting in kindergarten. All the way up. I think it would change the world.
I think it would change the world.
I wouldn't have any elite backers, because they'd be like, wait a second. Now you're going to have too much competition for me. Get out of here. Like, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Welcome to the game.
I love it. I love it.
At least I know I'll have your vote.
Yeah, next to Madison.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Next to Madison. For sure. I mean, I agree with you. Every man wants, and woman, the pursuit of happiness and freedom and liberty. I mean, that's what we were founded on. And you can't do that if you can't earn a good living. And, and I mean a good living, not barely making it living.
That's not living. That's just getting by, and that's a shitty way to live.
That's so a shitty way to live.
Trust me, I was been an artist. Things are finally starting to happen for me. But yeah, when you're just kind of working to get by,
right,
right, soul out of you. And so many people, are kind of in that. But it's like, let's get in there and give them an advantage, But
yep. Let's make it more equitable. I totally agree with you.
That's why
so you should run.
Bills scare me, because we have so much money coming in that I'm like, our future generations are screwed.
Basically, I don't know how, our future generations is going to be on their back, and they already are going to earn less. They can't find jobs. So it's creating a problem. No doubt.
I know. I think about my nieces all the time. I remember I froze my eggs because I'm a New York woman, and I'm like, career, and then I'll deal with that later type thing. And I'm glad I did. But then COVID happened, and the printing for money happened. And I said, I don't know if I can bring somebody into this knowing what I know. And that's scary.
I forgot. How much did we print for COVID?
Oh my God. 1.9 trillion there. 2 trillion, 2.2 trillion, I think, for the first one.
2.2 trillion.
Yeah.
9. So that's 4.4.
And then now we're going to have another 2 million.
2 trillion.
2 trillion. That's right. Yeah.
So 6 trillion. Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's a scary time.
It's
you
a
better
scary
start
time.
looking for those loopholes. You know what I mean?
I never get away. I'm gonna pay all my taxes. I never get away.
Maybe we need to get you a better accountant.
Yeah, maybe.
I know a few. We'll talk offline. Yeah, they're all legal. But my dad was so great. My dad's actually a CPA, and he's such a great guy. That's why people never leave him. Now he just wears jeans and whatever he wants to wear, because he's like, I don't need these people. I do a good job for them, but if they don't want to come because I don't have a suit on, well, there's the door.
Good for him.
Yeah, but he went through I thought this was the nicest thing ever. And I'm like, you're like a hero. And he looked at all his clients, like returns, business owners, and he was able to see, and he called every single one of them and said, did you apply for the PPP loan? And they said,
Right.
I didn't know I qualify for it. He goes, you absolutely do. And this is what you're entitled to. I looked at all your stuff. And people were, they were jumping for joy, like small businesses, you know, construction guys, roofers, and he's like, I called every single one of them. And they were like, I had no idea I qualified for it. And he made sure
that's awesome.
his clients got that loan. He didn't miss a beat. Yeah. And I thought, wow, that's a really good thing. But, you know, luckily being a CPA's daughter, I'm able to take, know where certain write-offs come in.
Okay.
Because you need that to like build a business. But it is funny because I had this conversation with a friend of mine and I said, I write off some of my highlights because I'm in entertainment and I need to look good. So it's called excess.
And you are beautiful.
Oh, well, thank you. It's those write-offs.
I love the highlights.
Hair, you know? So then she goes, why do you write off some of them? And I go, well, because it's called excess hair styling. You can't write off because everyone needs their hair styled or cut or whatever during the year, natural grooming. She goes, well, no, Donald Trump wrote off $70,000 in hair. And I go, he did. That's right. I said, I'm writing off every highlight. In fact, I'm getting them done more often now. I was like, can I write off my Botox? You know? I was like, and then if the government says you can't write off all this Botox, I say, yes, I can. I can't let them, I have to have a poker face. So therefore I can't move.
It's for your work. Yep. You should be able to write it off.
I know. So it's very interesting. So I wonder if you kind of looked at different things that maybe you'd find different things that you could legally do, you know, because I'm good with legal ones, but if you're, sending money all over the place, I think our own president actually did it. There was a thing in the tax bill where he was missing, or he sent over like something 500. He owed like 500,000 on whatever he did, but it was sent to a different country. And they were saying, well, if he passes this new tax increase, then we're going to release this.
What is this? Is this real? This is news that hasn't been
in the news, and I'm not a political person. I'm just telling you what I read. But again, it's news, which is whatever they want us to read. I don't believe anything anymore. I really don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, they all do it. They all do it. And, so it's like, okay, stop with the rules for thee, but not for me. If you want to do that, that's fine, but allow everyone to be able to do that.
Exactly. Just be fair across the board. And that's what I'm saying about corporate taxes. Just be fair across the board.
I know. That's exactly right. So tell us, what do you think? Because when I was last in New York, like I left November 1st. I'll be back there actually at the end of this month, but so much construction. And it was continuing to go on, and there were buildings going up everywhere, but yet all you would hear is everybody piling out of New York. It wasn't worth it. The crime was out of control. The taxes were too high. And then the state of Florida just went, whoop, like Cuomo became the realtor of the year, him and de Blasio. Right? So they emptied, but there's all this construction, and you're in the construction business. I mean, you're in like airports and things like that. People always need. But what's going to happen with all these empty buildings? That might happen if they can't get this under control. Like, what is your thoughts and interpretation on that?
Well, I think New York is playing the long game. Eventually it's going to come back. So let's take Terminal 1. And we work for 4 airlines, in Terminal 1, there'll be 4 airlines. And they're saying that we will not get back to the pre-COVID number of people flying until 2024. So our airport will probably open at the end of 2024. So a lot of this construction that you see happening now is playing for the long game, for, banking on the fact that New York will come back. New York has been through other crises, and this is just another one. And at the end of the day, New York is a unique city, and people are going to come here. And, you know, the office buildings might have a little longer trajectory because, you know, everyone whose lease is coming up in the next few years, they're looking into, you know, what the workplace should look like going forward. If I survey my clients, more than half of them will say, I do not want to come, more than, I would say 2/3. I do not want to have to come into the office every day of the week. I mean, just think about the costs of travel in New York. So all of the workers have gotten an increase in pay because they don't have to pay for travel. They don't have to pay for those expensive lunches. I mean, you know, you got Pret-a-Manger, you go there, it's $15, $20. Your coffee's $5. You know, grabbing a drink after work is $25. So people are saving money by being home, and they're saving on that commute time because, you know, the commute time for most New Yorkers is way over an hour. And for some of them, it's 2 hours. So, you know, that's 4 hours a day. They can just get up and, you know, be at home and spend more time with their family. So I think the office buildings might be an issue. And, you know, what's going up now was what was already on the boards. The ones that were on the board that hadn't started construction right when COVID hit, those did not go. Those are not being constructed. And, you know, there is this wealthy flight out of New York to Florida, mainly Florida, but other places. And, you know, they're calling the residents, these, you know, 15, 20 million, 100 million, 90 million residents is very expensive closets now. Because nobody's living there except, you know, their clothes.
I know.
And so, you know, it is an interesting dynamic, but I think all of these people in the long run are going to want to come back to New York. You know, they pay more taxes, but they've already amassed their wealth. You know, they can live in Florida for 6 months and be here for 6 months. So eventually it all comes back, but it's going to take a while, definitely.
I know.
But the plays are back online supposedly in June. So Broadway lights come on. So I mean, you know, that's what they said. They said June.
Fall.
Or maybe they changed it to the fall. The last I heard was June.
Because that's going to start bringing people back.
Yes, the Yankees and the Mets now, you know, are allowing people to come into the stadiums. And so I think over time, you know, New York gets better. We just opened up restaurants at 25%. I mean, that's only been what, a month, 6 weeks.
I think it's 50 now, I heard.
Maybe it's up to 50. I'm gonna go out tonight. I'll see.
Yay, that's exciting. Are you gonna? Is it nice out? Hopefully, you get to sit indoors if it's not nice out.
Yeah, it's been okay. The it's a little chilly right now, but I was not one of the New Yorkers sitting outside with my hat on and my big bubble coat eating soup.
Yeah, I did that one night in Colorado when I got back in November. They had done like where they shut indoor dining because the cases were up. And I went to local restaurants outside, and it was just miserable. I'm like, what am I paying for?
Right.
Like, I'd rather just, you know, have people over, but like, what are you doing? So now at least it's back. It's, you know, outdoor dining is great from May to September.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And we're kind of in a little rainy period of time because it's spring. But so the construction is a long game. And, you know, New York has long money.
That's true. That is true. Are you guys doing any residential? properties, or
we don't do any residential, and the residential suffering, apartments are, 2/3 of the cost.
everyone I know, all the comedians, they're all like upgraded. They're all living in bigger places. I'm like, good for you guys. That's one benefit.
Yeah, that's what I did. I moved in December.
Did you? I heard they were offering some really good deals.
Very good deals.
So
it's a great time to buy. It's a great time to buy in the city because the prices are going to come right back up.
They are. I know. I thought about, and I was like, oh, if I, should I invest in something there? But are they going to come down more? So it's like, when is everything gonna, bounce back? But yeah, it's an interesting. I mean, I will admit, New York was way too expensive, so it's kind of come down. It was just being asinine. I mean, you had to make.
It's just ridiculous. Yo, I agree with you.
Yeah, I was like, that's neat. Nobody wants to have roommates.
Yeah. I mean, we have to build more affordable housing. It is.
Or just
this high-end stuff is
normal. I know. It's like, build a nice building. And it's like, one bedroom is, $1,800 a month. Like, that's fine. That's like a normal city.
Well, New York used to be $1 million a bedroom, right? So if you're going to buy a 2-bedroom, it was $2 million. Well, now it's $3 million. I mean, it's just not affordable for people.
No. I mean, is it a lot better now?
I think it's better, but I think it's at the bottom of where it's going to be. I mean, now people are vaccinated. People are coming back to the city. It's summer.
Yeah.
The best part of the year for us is now, So, we'll see. I think now is the time to buy. Now through the summer, it's time to buy in New York. And then the numbers are going to just start going back up again.
It's interesting. I'm getting ready to go there because I've got to do some business stuff there at the end of the month. And I'm excited, but I'm nervous. It's like, I keep thinking the old New York is still ingrained in my memory. And I'm glad.
Me too.
It's new. And I'm like, I'm still expecting that, and crowded bars and crowded places. And it's going to be hard to be like, okay, I saw this, it's getting better, but like, it's still not that New York kind of used to. But I am excited just to kind of get back and see friends and do things, because I'm just really in limbo. I don't know where my next stop is, whether I go back to New York.
You're in limbo. So you don't know if you're staying there or you're coming back to New York?
I'm not staying here. I know that. I'm kind of, a lot of the projects are all remote, so I'm just working on everything. And then when the next kind of, deal happens and I need to physically be somewhere, then that's where I'll go. But everything seems to be, might be filming in the middle of the woods, which is not New York. So I have to live in a trailer in Alabama. I'm not sure.
So where are you on the vaccine? Where are you on the vaccine, Madison?
Oh gosh, I feel like I can't even talk about the vaccine because people have politicized things that shouldn't be politicized. And so I was just talking with my friend about this, and I was like, why did the mask become political? And why did the vaccine become political? I'm like, if my doctor says, I think you should get the vaccine, then I'm going to probably get the vaccine. I just had COVID.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So I'm loaded with antibodies. So I thought, you know what? I'll let other people that want it more, need it more, have it, versus me putting myself to front of line. And then I also heard what are the virus people, immunologist, I think you say it, come on, and he was talking about the J&J, how they pulled it with some of the blood clots. And he said, well, what's happening is that a lot of people had no symptoms with COVID. So, or they had COVID and they're like, okay, I'm going to go get the vaccine. They're loaded with antibodies. The vaccine is giving them antibodies to help fight the virus. So now they're supercharged with antibodies and things start to blow up. So he's saying if you have antibodies, that it is probably not a good idea to get the vaccine until those antibodies, wear off. So I'm like, okay, so I don't have to worry about this until the fall. I just hope it doesn't become like mandatory. But here's the thing. I believe in people's health is their business. And if they want to get the vaccine, I 100% support it. And if they don't want to get the vaccine, I 100% support that.
Yeah.
You
me
know,
too.
so for
Me
me,
too.
it's like I'm in the middle. You know, I'd like an FDA approval, and then I don't
Yeah.
mind, but I don't the whole forced thing, and then people politicizing it, like, oh, the Republicans don't want to get the vaccine. It's like, I don't think half the people that I know that don't want to get the vaccines are not Republicans. I'll tell you that much right now. Like, it has nothing to do with any of that. But
Right.
people politicized it. Same with like the mask, you know. So, and then I know that they're doing a whole telethon on TV to convince people to get vaccinated. They need to not do that. And I'll tell you why. Because if you put a bunch of celebrities on television telling me the vaccine is so good and blah, 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 I'm now wondering why you have to do that. If it was so good, why do you need to pay these people millions of dollars to tell me? I'm okay with like these celebrities pushing some anti-aging cream. But when it comes to shit that goes into your body, that's where I get scared. So I don't know. What are you on it? Did you get it?
Yes, I got it.
And you're live.
I'm married to a doctor, and you know, he got it back in January. And so I got it. Yes.
And you feel
I mean, I still wear my mask.
Okay. I know, it's crazy. I thought that was like, if they told me, here's a way to get everybody to take the vaccine. You ready? You take the vaccine, no more mask. I'd be like, oh, okay. I don't like this mask thing, not being able to breathe. And I miss seeing people smile at you.
Yeah, me too. It's tough.
Yeah.
It is tough.
It's just like you're just walking around. But there's always a silver lining to a situation. If you want to have plastic surgery, now's the time to get it done. Because nobody's going to look at you like you're a nut if you're wearing a mask outside. They're like, oh, COVID. Right? Before they'd be like,
oh my God, you
right?
are so right. I did want to do this.
Now's your time, girl. I don't think you need it, but now is your time. You better get on that list. Apparently, the list for, I read an article, the list for, or the waiting time for plastic surgery, the demand is through the roof because everybody is all of a sudden was home in their sweatpants, eating more than they needed to, working with just a top on. I have pants on, don't worry. You know, and they were doing this whole thing, and then they had the mask on, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, the world's opening back up. People are going to start seeing my lower face, and, you know, I'm doing stuff, so that apparently the demand is through the roof.
Wow. I believe it. I believe it.
There was this girl that was in the article, and she just said, you know, after not seeing people for a year, you know, I figured I'm going to, you know, get a new set of tits. And I thought to myself, I'm like, people could have seen those the whole time. Like, you covering them, that was your fault. Why did you cover them?
I love it. I love it. I love it.
I remember I was going to get this laser that caused it's like a tightening laser thing for your lower face, and the needles go in so deep that you look like somebody sucker punched your face, like you have bruises everywhere. And I thought, oh well, I'm going to get it done. Then the doctor told me I didn't need it, but I thought, what a great time to get it done, because then I won't get yelled at for not wearing a mask outside. Sometimes I don't like to wear it outside, and then I get that occasional person that comes by and gives me their opinion, and I'm like, thank you. I wasn't anywhere near you. I didn't even see you. You just came out to tell me I wasn't wearing a mask.
You are hilarious. I can't wait to see you in person.
I know. Well, I'm going to be there the end of April, like last 2 days of April, first week of May for a work thing. So I will get with our producer, Lynette Dallas. I don't give her enough of a shout out on this podcast. So producer Lynette Dallas, she's amazing. She is the reason my guests and I are talking today. So I'm excited about that. So yeah, we'll get together. That would be fun.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
So tell everyone where they can find you, because I know we were supposed to talk about your foundation. So tell us about that foundation, because you're doing some really amazing things with building entrepreneurs.
Okay, no, it's the Building Congress Foundation, and I'm the chair of the foundation board. Wow. And we give grants to, let's see, any type of nonprofit that is promoting STEM or, young people getting into architecture, engineering, and construction, as well as women, getting them into the union.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. In construction in New York, we probably have a workforce that's about 5% female. And so we're always trying to improve that. Because a single mom can make, a really decent living in construction.
Yeah.
And so, the more women we can get into that, it gives them a little bit more control over their destiny. So that's the Building Congress Foundation.
That's great.
Glad to be a part of it.
Absolutely. And so
Yeah.
people go on the website and donate. How does that work?
Well, it's not really open to the public for donation.
Oh, okay. So like companies, big successful companies will come and donate to help. I like that even better.
Yeah, it's the architecture, engineering, construction, real estate community in New York. And we also beautify things. We give money to, public housing so that they can have a green space for their kids.
Sure.
So, we have a lot of very interesting nonprofits that we give money to.
That's great.
Yes, it is great. It is great.
So great.
And so Madison, I'm gonna have to. Oh, I have a reservation with my husband, and because I could talk to you all night.
I know she's got to go get her dinner. Okay, so is there anything you want where people can find you? I know it's McKissack.com is the name of your company, and so
it's info@McKissack.com.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, great. This has been amazing, and I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story, and then having great conversation about stuff. I always love talking about the story and then ranting. So this was a lot of fun, and I can't wait to meet you in person. And everybody,
I know I want some beauty tips.
I'll give them to you. I have a company I want to start. Maybe you can help me find some patent attorneys. And everybody listening at home, thanks for listening, or listening in your car, at the gym, or at the plastic surgeon's office, wherever you may be. I appreciate you tuning in to another episode of Next to Madison. We'll see you next time to find out who's next.
Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms, and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@nexttomadison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.